There's a fine line between magic and illusion. I'm Clive Barker. Join me for a look at the magic behind the making of Lord of Illusions.
It's been waiting for you.
Here on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Tonight at 11:30 p.m., 4:30 Pacific.
This program includes graphic special effects. Parental discretion is advised.
There is a fine line between heroes and villains, between what is good and what is evil, between reality and illusion. From the imagination of Clive Barker, the Sci-Fi Channel presents Lord of Illusions, the magic of Clive Barker.
Hi, I'm Clive Barker. Join me as we look at the magic behind the making of Lord of Illusions, here on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Clive Barker, director of such cult classics as Hellraiser and Nightbreed, brings us his latest trip to the dark side with his new film, Lord of Illusions. We take an inside look at how Clive Barker created horror's next masterpiece.
What the hell? I wanted to have, in the first 7 or 8 minutes of the movie, the most intense series of images, powerful images that I could possibly array.
What's the matter?
What are you gonna do to me?
I would like to think that halfway through Lord of Illusions, the audience will be thinking, he's crazy.
Oh, I know what you want.
Working with Clive was just an amazing experience because he understands the genre, he understands horror so well, and understands, his phrase for it, was how can we get a good boo?
The movie's concerned with illusion. The movie's concerned with magic and what magicians do on stage. I like the idea that the world is mysterious and full of magic, good and bad. I have, I suppose, a mystical vision of the world at heart. It comes out in my books. It comes out to a lesser extent in the movies. It certainly comes out in the paintings. A vision of the world as something charged up with mystery, with possibilities.
Together, you will cleanse the world.
Certainly in the last few years, we've seen horror movies being driven by the villains. And I'm responsible for some of them. Hellraiser has Pinhead and Candyman, Freddy Krueger, and so on. These are horror franchises that are driven by the villains. I wanted to see if we could create a hero that the audience would care for, a hero that the audience would feel drawn to, that the audience would feel protected by. One of the things that does, sort of frees me up to do, is be even more ghastly in my imaginings, because we have this very reassuring presence in the middle of the narrative. Wes Craven said, with great insight, I think, that when you see a horror movie, you should really feel as though you're in the hands of a madman.
When we return, we talk to star Scott Bakula as Lord of Illusions, the magic of Clive Barker continues. Here on the Sci-Fi Channel. Mind of Clive Barker comes a new look at horror with Lord of Illusions. We now return with the cast of Lord of Illusions here on the Sci-Fi Channel.
There is a short story I wrote, I guess 10 years ago now, called The Last Illusion, which was published here in a collection called Cabal. And it's a story of 30 pages or so, which introduces a character called Harry D'Amour.
The character of Harry D'Amour. Was an interesting challenge for me. Clive had written this character for 10 years prior to me attempting to bring him to life.
Harry is a very rational, reasonable, regular guy, but he's a haunted guy.
Harry D'Amour, who describes himself as a private detective, has been linked with occult activities on several occasions. We regard D'Amour as a highly dubious character. It's nice, Harry.
Touch the darkness, D'Amour. It's been waiting for you.
Yeah, well, maybe I do need a vacation.
Harry is a man who, and I will quote Clive because I told him that I would when he told me this. He has a karmic debt, which I like a lot, and his karmic debt in this lifetime, in this this time through, is to basically be an envoy, if you will, or the leader and the man who stands in between the forces of darkness and the forces of good and light.
You're drawn to the dark side, over and over. You don't like that?
Not much.
You can't change it. You must walk the line between heaven and hell. It's your destiny.
A hero is, in a sense, only as good as the demons, the villains who test him.
Touch the darkness. It's been waiting for you.
Like many horror movies, Lord of Illusions has central to it a primal conflict between good and evil. But there are a number of characters in between who, as we move through the narrative, we have to make judgments about. We're not sure whether they're good or evil. Maybe it's a little of both.
I'm putting in a new illusion tonight. Something special. I want you to be there, will you?
Of course.
Philip Swan is a man who has learned terrible powers at the hands of the villain of the piece, the hands of William Nix. He uses those powers, and like Faustus, the Faust story is in a sense one of the great stories of Western culture, the magician who does a deal with the devil and regrets it.
Will you take the job, Mr. D'Amour?
Harry,
Harry,
when do you want me to start?
come to the show with me. It's his last performance in LA tonight.
And Dorothea, his wife, played by Famke Janssen, is the beautiful, exquisitely beautiful, mysterious, but deeply troubled woman who will draw Harry, the Scott Bakula character, into a mystery which eventually is going to put his soul in peril.
I mean, I feel that a lot of the times I walk through life with this sort of dark side. You know, I think that there's, and in everybody I know, we have these questions, and what are we doing here, and what is life all about?
Both Philip Swan and Dorothea have secrets which are revealed as the narrative goes on, secrets about the powers that they hold, secrets about their childhoods, secrets about, in a sense, about their allegiances.
Nix's plan, if you will, involved getting Swan into him in the beginning, you know, and that plan doesn't work. But as far as, you know, the second coming, as it were, of Nix, I think if he has a plan, I'm not sure, you know, he knew is now I get released or whatever. It probably was a surprise to him as well.
We'll be back with more special effects when we continue with Lord of Illusions. Here on the... We now return with a closer look at the magic behind Lord of Illusions. Here on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, I know what you want.
We have everything. We have opticals, we have CGI. We have huge prosthetics. We have mechanical baboons. We have just about anything that the special effects teams can do, we have somewhere in the picture. I mean, I think we are going to put on screen some things that nobody's ever seen before. At one point, halfway through the narrative, a shape-changing force threatens Harry and Dorothea in the house of the magician, Philip Swan. The shorthand form for this within the script was the origami man. The idea of a form that could fold itself up in space and then reform itself. It was something we hadn't seen before, I felt, and it was also something that probably wasn't plausible before CGI came along. We have one other very, very complex CGI shot at the end of the movie, and that is a shot of one of the characters slowly, over an 8-second period, which is a long time, screen time, being eroded and revealing glistening red muscle, popping the eyeballs out of the sockets and carrying those away. It's a shot I'm very proud of. It's wonderful that tools such as these are available to us as long as we have a place to put them within the narrative.
When you act in a horror film, you're going to have to deal with a lot of elements that are not there on the day when you're shooting. So that was certainly challenging. Funny enough that by the time I saw all this on film, it was so different than what I was imagining at the time, because I am not in his head and I don't have his imagination. I wish I did, because he has the best imagination of anybody.
I think it's very important not to think of special effects as special effects. When the man comes on with the prosthetics, if you spend too much time saying, boy, that's a really great 6-hour application of prosthetics, you're going to signal to the audience something phony.
It's all based out of Clive Barker's script, and it's very descriptive. And we went ahead and we did a bunch of drawings of what we thought maybe these cultists might look like, showed them to Clive, and Clive approved them. And what I'm doing now is, this is called gel blood. It's another blood. It's like a thick coagulated blood. Just putting in like some nicks and cuts that look like they've kicked up, already coagulated, nice, thick, gooky, horrible stuff.
So the realism comes from the fact that we found this hitchhiker. I mean, we picked him up off the 10 a couple of weeks ago.
The mask itself is a sort of nod and a wink to a great horror movie, Black Sunday, in which Barbara Steele is a witch who is burned at the stake at the beginning of the picture, but she has this huge mask hammered onto her face. And it's a picture I saw, I suppose I first saw it when I was about 16 or 17. It left a huge impression upon me.
I came out early and did a bunch of body casting and face casting and arms and things like that. It is work. It's the kind of work doing that. And you realize that I've saved myself some work because a lot of the special effects are either initiated or involved by or with one of the dummies of me, you know, that they made up to look like me. So skin coming open and all that stuff. I'm standing on the sidelines, you know, watching this happen. Hey, look at what's happening to me now.
Just as a science fiction writer might wish to make sure that the science was correct in his movie or his book, I, as somebody who's dealing with magic here, want to feel as though the technical stuff is correct.
The biggest illusion in the show is something that Clive really had in his mind, and what I helped do, I suppose, is to look at it from a professional magician's point of view and define the line where an illusionist could not go and explore what could be beyond.
Come with me into the great beyond.
We'll continue our look at the imagination of Clive Barker when we return with more Lord of Illusions. Here.
This program includes graphic special effects. Parental discretion is advised.
We now return with more of the mystical mind of Clive Barker as Lord of Illusions continues. Here on the Sci-Fi Channel.
I like the idea of being able to fold into the picture some things that are echoes of occult wisdom.
Did you come up here for a reading? My God. What? You're drawn to the dark side. Over and over. You don't like that.
One of the key spectacles in the movie is a magic trick or an illusionist trick, which involves the skewering of an unfortunate failed illusionist.
Have you seen this before?
It echoes a tarot card, the Ten of Swords, which is a symbol for, depending on your reading of the card, despair, the end of a cycle, ruin.
A lot of people believed in Nyx. You haven't forgotten his promise.
About
Death.
what about death?
It's an illusion.
I like the idea that the world is mysterious and full of magic, good and bad. And I like the idea that in telling these kinds of stories, maybe you alert the audience to the fact that that's the case.
You shouldn't have followed me, Damore.
How did you do that?
Now I'm gonna have to kill you.
I don't think so.
You start with images and ideas, symbols, which have a familiarity, and then you give them a half twist or a full twist. You take them into new territory. You try and invest the story with a freshness which will somehow or other make the audience look at the world afresh. One of the reasons why horror fiction, fantasy fiction, science fiction are so exciting is because they stimulate the imagination in new directions.
Magic is what's beyond. It's the essence of life. It's the thing that is the mystery that drives you forward in life.
And what happens, I think, in our childhoods is that we have instant access to those mysteries, instant access to those miracles. Our imaginations are unfettered, and we have no compunction, no shame, no embarrassment about interpreting the world as magical. We see our horror movies and our science fiction movies, and we read our fantasy books, and a little part of us, which is constantly under siege, I think, clings to, values, celebrates the imaginative. It's important to hold these things dear, to value the things that are part of the child in us.
It is more than entertainment. We are opening up people's heads. We are bringing miracles back into their miserable little lives.
But they're fake miracles.
Houdini believed he had spirit guides.
You believe that?
I believe that we walk a narrow path between
heaven and hell,
divinity and trickery.
It's my duty as somebody who has designed this ride to make sure that it continues to find fresh ways to stimulate them, surprise them, shock you, stimulate you. I mean, the whole point of this movie is that whenever you think you understand where it's going, whenever you think that you know the difference between illusion and magic, whenever you think you've caught its tone and its rhythm and you're safe with it, it comes at you from another angle. This is a strange tale, but it's also, I hope, a tale which an audience that maybe has never seen a Clive Barker movie, maybe assume that Clive Barker is just too out there, too weird, too gross, is going to be drawn to and say, I understand this journey. I can take this journey with Harry D'Amour, with Scott's character, and feel that at the end of the day, it was a ride worth taking and a ride worth surviving.
Now stay tuned for Quantum Leap, next on the Sci-Fi Channel.
He's slick, he's sexy, and he's back. Future Super Cop Jack Death returns to L.A. for an encore battle with the evil zombies who crave Trancers. Tim Thomerson and Helen Hunt star in Trancers 2, part of Full Moon Rising, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern.